I was thinking, if you're in there and you had to get out another way, how do you do it? You know, which I did. I got my head outside, wiggle through, I punched my head through. But it's a lot of work. You're kicking the whole time.
I mean, I just love the water and I love diving. I've always loved scuba diving, but I'd have to say, I guess the best is when you actually make a difference in somebody's life, and when we've actually had the opportunity to actually save some people, and the training has paid off, and sometimes that's the ultimate, to actually save somebody, which over the course of this summer, now that we have a boat, we were able to actually save some lives from, you know, some dangerous situations out on the water. And when we've been able to pull people out of the water dive-wise, that's the ultimate. But then sometimes it's just as much as giving a family closure, whereas years ago, you know, the line was, if someone drowned, well, eventually they're going to pop up. They'll buy, and you know, that's just not good enough for some families. Eventually popping up wouldn't be good for me. I don't think it'd be good for you. So to be able to, even if the person, you know, if we weren't lucky enough to save the person, but we were able to go in and give that family closure by retrieving a loved one's body from a drowning, that actually it's a good feeling. It's actually knowing that we did something for somebody. Buffalo's got a huge waterfront, miles upon miles of waterfront, which runs from Lackawanna all the way to Tonawanda. And then we have inner tributaries, the Buffalo River, Cazenovia Creek, you know, a lot of things inside, a lot of different marinas. So we have a lot of water. We have a lot of boaters out on the water. A lot of recreation happens out on the water. Accidents happen when you have that kind of recreation. We have drownings, we have boating accidents. But the water also is a very tempting place for individuals who commit crimes to go and dispose of their weapons, of the fruits of the crime. Although Buffalo is noted for such cold weather, we actually have open water probably 90% of the year here in Buffalo. The water isn't frozen that often, so the water is always there as not only for enjoyment, but it's also a source of danger. You need divers to go down to the bottom and get things, whether it be people, whether it be anything such as cars, or, as I said, safes or guns. You need divers to go down and do that, because as they found out a lot of years ago, grappling hooks and those type of things just don't work. When I came on the team in 1985, my commander who put me on the team was a lieutenant by the name of William Shore. He was a motorcycle lieutenant. He was a lieutenant at the old precinct number 15. And he has since retired, but his story about the origin of the team was that for years, when he was a younger officer, and cars would go in the water, people would go in the water, anything, guns, anything at all that would go in the water in the Buffalo area. And obviously, you know, the Buffalo waterfront has miles upon miles of waterfront. There would come times when there were crimes involving the water. They would go in with grappling hooks, and they'd put a couple guys in a rowboat, dress them up nice and warm if the weather was cold, put maybe a vest on them to make sure they didn't fall over the boat and drown, and give them these grappling hooks and have them grapple and hook onto whatever object they were looking for, including people. And that's how they would find stuff or not find things. And that worked fine for cars and for different kinds of property, maybe a safe, possibly a gun if they dragged around. Guys would fall off the boats, obviously. But then after recovering a few bodies that way, and the grappling hooks would do different things to the body, it was kind of seen as being a little inhumane, and the guys didn't like doing it. They were forced to do it. So Billy Shore took it upon himself. He was always asking for an underwater recovery team, and they were kind of hesitant to give it to him. So one day when a car went in the water, it was the middle of winter, he decided to take matters into his own hands, and he borrowed a fireman's Scott pack, which has nothing to do with underwater diving, is not waterproof at all, and he put on, I believe it was a fireman's big heavy coat, and dove in the water just like he knew what he was doing, like he's done this every day of his life. Well, as it turns out, as soon as he hit the water rushed into the mask. He froze because the coat didn't protect him at all. But he went down and he hooked the car, came up with a smile on his face, said, "There you go, see, I just did it, and that's why we need a URT." And so he pulled it off. He actually faked them out and used all these different the fireman Scott Packing coat, and then after that convinced the then commissioner that it was the more humane way to do it, and they needed dive equipment, and the department sprung for some money and got them dive equipment, and I believe that was the inception, the very beginning of the Buffalo Underwater Recovery Team. On the 4th of July, they used to run air shows right over the Niagara River, coming out of Niagara Falls Air Force Base, and one of the stunt planes that day, and for some reason I've just always remembered this guy's name, it was a long time ago, his name was Gifford Foley, and he was performing stunts right over the lake, and something went wrong, and one of his stunts went wrong, and he actually crashed right down into the lake. He obviously died instantaneously, but stayed with the plane. The plane is I guess planes are made mostly of aluminum. All the aluminum went through his body, kept him right with the plane. Jim D, who's been a member of the team for even a lot longer than I have, Jim D and myself went down and found the plane first of all, and then were able to bring a large portion of the fuselage up with the pilot, Gifford Foley, inside of it, and he had to be taken to another location to be extricated from the plane. But that was one of the high points of our career on the URT, being able to do that. Yep.
Sounds like a hole, and I was working my way out and moving ice chunks. If you had to get out of another hole, it's a lot of work.
Oh, you got a tank on too. Mark said, I'm going to bring you slowly toward me. You stay on the ice and just use your hands to maneuver across the ice, okay? I'm just going to bring you very slow.
If you find a spot,
If you find a spot that's soft, you can poke through. You on the bottom? Nope, it's popping up.
right here. All right.
You're good.
Good.
Come on out. Tommy's coming up.
Charlie 330, Charlie 221.
Where's your D-ring?
You see where Mike's line is, John?
So do you get hot when you're sitting in there waiting to go in, or?
Sometimes that's a problem if you get sweated out before you go in. Then you're wet underneath, and when you do get in the cold, you're icing your body down, which is wrong. So you have to be real careful that you don't get heated up.
Right.
So if we do, you unzip and get cool off first.
Right.
Because with the dry suit, you don't want to be getting sweated in it. Good thing is it's 36 degrees, so it's cool enough to keep you nice. The water's always 33, but there's 32, 33. There's no wind. I've heard people on TV say, well, the water's 20 below. Well, it would be frozen.
Like a rock.
Yeah. The water's 20 below down there. Well, we can't. It's impossible.
Ice starts at what, 34 degrees? Get around there,
Well,
29 or 30. That's it as far as.
Saw it last night. It's Lake Erie's 34. Right. So we're in good shape.
Okay, you guys are actually doing a dive and get your shit ready, but then wait for the next crew, whoever's going in after you, to just clear this ice. Unless you guys want to clear it right when you get geared.
Start popping.
Just the smaller pieces, Tom, up top.
Water right now.
If not, tuck them under.
Where's the paint?
A pylon, wait for it.
Pylon right there.
There's a pylon right there. He's standing on something right there.
I'm sitting on a pylon right there.
He's standing on.
Great.
Watch your back. Watch your back. Okay, you're good.
Oh, he's got a pylon.
Is it rebar for your white shoulders?